Welcome to the IDP guys, soon to be IDP Plus Mock Draft Monday. I'm your host today, Ricky Rodrigue. You can find me at RickyRod66 on X/Twitter. And I'm joined today by some outstanding, talented colleagues. And with that, we'll let them introduce themselves, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the mock draft we'll be doing today. And let's go ahead and start with JJ.
I'm JJ Wenner. You can find me on Twitter at JJ Wenner. I've been having a blast doing these mock draft Mondays. Looking forward to talking a little bit about Superflex rookies today. So let's do this.
That was a spoiler alert. Okay, Joe.
I always do that. I'm sorry.
I thought Ricky was going to say he was surrounded by a bunch of idiots, which is probably fair with those entrances.
I believe we're called man-childs.
That's the word. Thank you, Sean. But yep, I am Joseph Harlow. You can find me on X/Twitter at Jolo63. Excited to get into Superflex since JJ already spoiled them. Yeah, let's do this.
All right, Steve H.
I'm Steve Hungarter, IDP Hunter. I'm in the middle of paperwork hell right now. I'm doing some typing, got carpal tunnel on my arms. I'm currently working with Joe Pepe over at the Dynasty Triple Play. We are doing team-by-team analysis, offense, defense. And I'm also over at the Fantasy Six Pack. We're doing our Dynasty rankings by position articles. Come check me out over there.
But your favorite place to be is right here with the IDP guys.
My favorite place to be is with Ricky. Whatever he's doing, I'm here. I'm a loyal soldier for Ricky.
He's a good man. All right, Steve G.
I'm Steve Scholes at Big Steve FF, and I just have one question for you guys. Are you ready to flex?
Ooh.
Nice. That's super.
Oh,
I like it.
Good work, guys.
Dad jokes. Let me get my cymbals. Ba-boom.
Yeah. You can hear the kids dying of cringe right now.
But don't leave us because we got some great analysis coming. All right. And my cohort in crime on this weekly start sit show we do for IDP guys and soon to be IDP Plus, Caramel Macchiato. Sean.
Yeah, Sean Teague at Sean8386 on the Twitter. I just found out we're not doing offensive lineman rookies, so this is going to be tough.
But I'll get it. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
Torrey Taylor's a weapon, Steve. Let me tell you.
Joe Alt. That's all I had. Joe Alt or nothing.
Exactly. And to my right, I want to call out producer Andrew, who will be monitoring the sleeper draft board for us. And he just rolled his eyes significantly when he heard Caramel Macchiato. That's all I'm going to say.
Excellent.
All righty. So today, as a couple of my colleagues here alluded to, we're going to do a 2 quarterback / super flex offense only rookie mock draft. We're going to add one more twist, though. This will be a tight end premium as well. So we're going to throw that extra little twist into the mock draft as well. We'll be treating this as a dynasty. So it's dynasty rookie because a lot of our 12 teams. So that is the plan for today. So our drafters in the draft order, Steve, we're going to start with Sean with picks 1 and 7. JJ with picks 2 and 8. Joe will have picks 3, 9, and 11. Yours truly will have pick 4. I'm only capable of doing 1. That's why I'm only doing team 4. Steve G will do teams 5 and 10, and Steve H will do teams 6 and 12. So are we ready to mock, boys and men, young men, gentlemen?
Boys was right.
All of the above.
Boys, 2 men.
Let's mock and roll. Woo!
It is the end of the road for some of us.
Yeah.
Time to mock and roll with that. All right. So for our viewing audience, I will add the sleeper to the stage here so everybody could see that. And we will periodically, so the sleeper draft board showing, and we'll periodically summarize for our listen-only audience so we can make sure they can keep up. And with the first pick of our 2 quarterbacks / Superflex tight end premium rookie dynasty mock draft will be Sean.
All right. So I assume if I got the number 1 overall pick, my team sucks. And it probably needs a quarterback. Although I
Or you're a
really.
savvy trader.
Yeah, no, it's because I suck. I'm pretty sure. I'm not good at trades. I still want to take a wide receiver here, I think. Or do I? I'm indecisive. You know what? I'm doing it. I'm still going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. here just because I do think he is that type of talent. I think he is going to be elite for a long time.
That's ballsy. I like it, though.
So
That's why I have the
Sean
number 1
starts
pick.
off the draft with in a 2 quarterback Superflex, and he with the talent on the board, he still goes with Marvin Harrison. I'm sure we're going to have some discussion on that when we wrap up the draft.
We definitely will have
Marvin
some
Harrison
discussion
goes with the
about that.
first pick. Okay, JJ.
Well, I was going to go with Marvin Harrison Jr. with the second pick. I mean,
JJ, he left the door open
literally,
for you.
out of every single player on the board, you sniped me. Didn't think you were going to go that way. Now, based on last week's mock, I was going to change this up, but I'm going to stick with my narrative. I'm going with Caleb Williams. Pretty much outside of a few people, soon to be mentioned, Caleb Williams is the consensus number 1 pick. He was the consensus number 1 before the season, college season even started. I'm sure he's going to go to a good landing spot. We'll see what Chicago decides to do up at the top of the draft. But Caleb Williams, put it on the board.
Caleb Williams with pick number 2, USC quarterback, previous Heisman Trophy winner. Okay, let's go to Team 3 and Joe. And I think Joe might be a little bit excited the way the draft board fell for him.
I am. This is not the way I expected it to fall, for sure. But I got to say, back with Marvin Harrison, he's my number 1 player overall on the board for the real draft. I would go quarterback, but I can't really hate it. I can't do it. And I would have been and had Williams and May gone 1 and 2. It'd be a conversation here for sure. But I'm going with quarterback 1, Drake May. As I said in last week's mock, Drake May is my top quarterback. Caleb Williams, this is not to disparage him. I think he is an incredible prospect. I just think Drake May is a little better. It's not even better. It's a flavor thing. It's really all it is. It's a coin flip. Most people have Caleb 1. I think pretty much everyone does. I have May. Take higher. But just the rocket arm, still great speed. But the Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert comps, he's somewhere in the middle there. He's getting Justin Herberted right now, just with the draft capital and stock. But yeah, as of right now, quarterback 1, I think he's my pick here. And I would be so psyched if I could get him at 103 anywhere.
So Drake May from the University of North Carolina, who Joe has number 1 on his quarterback board. And if you haven't seen his article, it's not behind the paywall at idpguys.org. Go take a look at it. It's an NFL rookie mock draft, and very, very interesting. A lot of great insight in that article if you haven't checked it out. So I'd encourage everyone to go and take a look at that.
And a lot was immediately discarded right after coaching changes. So that was fun, but still some insight there. Thank you for the plug.
So you got it, buddy. Ton of views already, so it's a great article. So I have pick number 4, and I didn't expect the draft board to go this way either. I expected actually the 3 quarterbacks to go first, and I thought I would be potentially taking the first wide receiver off the board, but it clearly didn't fall that way. But I am going to pick the 3rd quarterback of the draft, and it's not just because I'm a homer. I'm going to pick the producer Andrew shaking his head like, he's a homer. But I am going to pick the Heisman Trophy winner from this year that threw for over 3,800 yards, had 40 touchdowns passing. Rushing-wise, also ran for over 1,000 yards. A dual-threat quarterback who you have a Lamar Jackson who was drafted in 32nd pick of the first round of the NFL draft, who's about to become, it looks like, this 2-time NFL MVP. I can see Jaden Daniels doing what Lamar Jackson is doing. And so Jaden Daniels is my pick here from the LSU Fighting Tigers with Team 4, pick 4 of the first round. Okay, so let's go to Steve G with pick 5 of round 1.
Yeah, so I'm kind of in a bit of a conundrum here. All 3 of the top quarterbacks are off the board. Marvin Harrison Jr. is gone. And I guess the question is, do I go with the first tight end here, or do I go somewhere else? I just think that this player is also a generational talent. And if Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't in this class, we'd be, hyping him up and hearing him, about him a lot more. So I'm going to go with the LSU wide receiver that had about 1,600 yards and 14 touchdowns last year. Give me Malik Neighbors at number 5.
Malik Neighbors from LSU goes with pick number 5. Okay, let's go to pick number 6 here with Steve H. So we'll round out the first half of round 1.
Big Steve, that was a good pick. And you're right. If we don't have Marvin Harrison in his draft, he's your number 1 overall. He had 23% of the offense last season, 20% as a rookie. He's going to excel. That is a very good pick. My pick's a little bit boringer. It's a tight end premium. I'm just following the draft board and I'm looking at value. You'll notice a pattern, Ricky. The top 7 picks are in chronological order. These are the guys that are going to be going. Maybe the top 4, it's your dealer's choice. So I'm not even mad about the Marvin Harrison pick. But look at all the guys in this realm. This is who everyone's drafting. So for me, I'm sticking with the tight end 1 in this draft class, and it's going to be Brock Bowers. Not a lot of analysts here. It's just we know who he is. We know he's a big dude. It's a tight end premium, and I'm hoping to chase the points.
Particularly with the tight end premium, very good pick. And very interesting when you start talking about you add in a tight end premium. Should he go before Neighbors or go after? Both are, argument you can go both ways and all. And so a very good pick there. And so let's go with Sean and Team 7.
All right. So I'm stuck here between maybe taking a quarterback probably a little early, even though this is Superflex, or do I take the last wide receiver out of that top tier? This is tough.
And that's a question that many people will be asking at this point in the draft.
And I think what I'm going to do, because this draft is so stacked at wide receiver, I'm going to go ahead and take Michael Penix Jr. here, just because I can get, solid wide receiver options, on the way back. And he's a solid player. I thought he looked really good this year. Obviously, his team made it, championship. So, got a good strong arm, pocket awareness. I like it. I think he's going to be a solid player.
He's an accuracy guy, right? He throws a pretty deep ball, so you're not wrong with that.
He doesn't come across like as a real
Penix,
dual threat guy, but
I think he had 2 ACLs. I'd have to look that up, but you're playing Superflex. Why not?
I like a good solid passer. Too many guys running around, depending on their size. He's a little smaller, I think. So that would scare me if he was dual threat.
Yeah, I just looked it up. He had an upper shoulder surgery. That's what it was.
Penix has had 4 season-ending injuries in his career.
Yeah.
2 ACLs and 2 shoulders.
1, 2, 3, 4 surgery.
Yep. And we talked about it in the last show.
So that is definitely the risk with Penix.
Draft capital is going to be huge on that for sure.
If Penix goes, some mocks have him at 8 overall, which I think is insane, but
that's
not the point here. But if he goes even in the 20s, this makes sense to take him over the receiver you alluded to, who I won't name, but it's one of those.
This is that classic. Oh, what's that, JJ? This is that classic 1 in the hand versus 2 in the bush. You know what I mean? Like, hey, it's a quarterback draft. I need to keep up with my neighbors here. So, I see that pick. It's okay.
Yeah.
So Michael Penix with the Washington Huskies, who unfortunately, if someone was listening to one of our other mock drafts, heard me call out Cougars and will shoot me for that. I apologize for anybody I offended in our previous mock draft with that call out. But Penix, very interesting because in a lot of dialogue here, of course, going over the number 3 wide receiver, going ahead of Nix and JJ from Michigan as well. So we shall see how this continues to play out. And with that, we'll go to Team 8 now. And JJ, you are up.
Well, that made it easy for me. I'm going to go with Rome Odunze. I mean, 6'3", 215, great wide receiver. I mean, yeah, sure. Picking at number 8, I'll take that all day, every day. Thank you.
That's why I love Superflex,
Rome
because these
Odunze.
wide receivers fall back. You know, such a good pick, value.
I'm old. I like value.
Exactly.
Steve.
Very good pick to get.
Didn't even need a coupon.
No.
And as much as I love Malik Neighbors, there are some people that think Odunze has a even bigger upside than Neighbors does. And so
I
to
got him
get
as
him
my
with
wide
the 8th
receiver
pick
3
of this
personally.
Yeah, it's a great value pick there.
Yep. So very interesting. Okay, let's go on. Yep. Okay,
Yeah,
Joe,
so
you have the next pick here with Team 9.
Yep, there's a lot of ways to go. I'm definitely stalling. I was hoping Adunes would make it. I knew he wouldn't, but the question here is my quarterback 4 is on the board still. A bunch of receivers, but well, I think I am going to go with the quarterback here. This is also another similar to Sean's Penix pick, where it's very draft capital based, but I'm going JJ McCarthy. I think he's the clear quarterback 4 in this class. Probably not the name who was expected, but I don't like that player at all. So we're not going to go with it. But
I don't like that player either. So
yeah. JJ McCarthy, he's an enigma. Shown a lot of talent, also very small statured, but just they didn't need him a lot at Michigan. When they needed him, third down plays, last year's playoff and Ohio State game, he balled out. But yeah, there's just not a lot out there. Some inconsistencies, which I mean, a lot of that is they didn't need him much. He only threw a couple hundred passes in his career. Like, he's going to be inconsistent at that point. But if he goes in the first round, and even if it's a year as a developmental guy, it could be fun. Or like a Will Levis last year and top of the second round, I think it could be very interesting. Very talented passer and a good runner. So that's where we're going to go here. This is the point where it's really after the first 7 picks. I think it gets really, really hard, and that's as someone who's lower on Penix. So
interpretation after that, the first 7 go in kind of a sweet order. Now we're like, what?
Yeah.
You know, I like that.
Yeah, the top 3 quarterbacks, receivers, the top tight end, and then whatever other quarterback goes in the first round. After that, it's like, okay, what's going to happen here?
So JJ's been falling at the end of sec. I was going to come up at 1.12 and get him, just to let you know. But yeah, I don't like that other guy either. This is where the ADP is a little bit cringy.
Now, what's interesting about McCarthy, and Joe was alluding to that, is McCarthy doesn't have a lot of starts. He has not thrown a lot of passes, and there, particularly in terms of college games started for quarterbacks, there is a strong correlation between the number of quarterback starts a person has in college and their success in the pros. If JJ McCarthy gets thrown to the Wolves early on, I would be worried about him. Hopefully he does get some developmental time and opportunity like Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith or something along those lines. Otherwise, it could not bode very well for him. So,
yeah,
but he does have the talent.
Passes he's got the winner thing.
For comparison's sake, here, let's just do a quick check. So Jane Daniels, for comparison, doubled that with 1,438 roughly. So just from a comparison perspective, that's a huge difference in terms of experience and trying things out against defenses and all. So it'll be really interesting. Okay, let's go to Team 10. And Steve G, you are up, and with all this dialogue, it gave you a chance to kind of contemplate where you want to go next.
Yeah, I definitely needed the time. But yeah, last week I took a couple of Georgia Bulldogs in the first round of our mock, and today I'm going to go with two LSU Tigers. So I'm going to take the other receiver from Baton Rouge. So Brian Thomas here. I think you've got to take the best player on the board, and for me, that's Thomas. 6'4", 200 pounds, has really good speed. 1,200 yards, 17 touchdowns, really exploded this year. Was a big part of why Jane Daniels won the Heisman. And the thing to look for him is where he gets drafted. Is he going to get drafted in the early teens, the low 20s? But regardless, I think he has the profile and the ability to come in and be a dynasty asset for you right off the bat.
Excellent. Brian Thomas. So 3 LSU Tigers in the first round so far, and we've had 2 Washington Huskies as well. Okay, so let's go to Joe with Team 11.
Yep. So last week I was in a similar position with players here, but I'm going to go a little one spot lower on my board just for sake of diversification here in a player I have graded similarly. But I'm going to go with Keon Coleman, the Florida State via Michigan State wide receiver. Big time receiver. He is a huge one where landing spot matters. If he goes to a Baltimore or a Buffalo, that would be spectacular. But some spots that would be a little hard to stomach. But high variance player, doesn't have insane production, but against big time competition and big plays, similar to JJ McCarthy, when they needed him, he made insane plays. He's even as a 6'4", 200 something pound receiver, 230 is he? But he's also returned punts.
Roughly, that is correct. Yes.
He was on the basketball team at Michigan State for a year. He is hyper athletic, a lot of concentration drops and weird routes, but when he's on, he's just as talented as Marvin Harrison Jr., just not nearly as consistent, which is why the gap here and why I wouldn't grade him nearly as close.
Uber talented with lots of upside with the Florida State Seminole, Keon Coleman for sure. Okay, let's wrap up the last pick of round 1, Team 12. And Steve H., that is over to you, sir.
Yeah, when you're on the 1.12, you're on the back end, you're just evaluating talent. So not a lot of analysis here. It's going to be Troy Franklin. I'm just going down the board. He's one of the last wide receiver trees that you can go and get. The only thing he gets dinged on is I think he's only 188 pounds. I think he's 6'4", 188. But, I mean, he'll put weight on. I mean, shoot, we all put weight on, right?
That was a shot across my bow, I felt like. Yes, I have.
Mm-hmm.
Been a rough couple months.
You can put weight on, but you can't put speed on. You can't teach speed. So, again, he should go in this middle first round. So I'm just going to play value. Not a lot of analysis there, but give me Troy Franklin.
Troy Franklin wraps up our round 1 of this Superflex rookie offense-only mock draft. So for our listening audience, let's recap the first round. Your first 4 picks were Marvin Harrison, Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jane Daniels. Your next 4 picks, Malik Neighbors, Brock Bowers, Michael Penix, and Rome Odunze. And wrapping up the back end, JJ McCarthy, Brian Thomas, Keon Coleman, and Troy Franklin. So before we go to round 2, let's just hit on a couple of things. Okay, let's start with Steve G. Steve G, were you surprised to see Sean go with a wide receiver over a quarterback to start the draft? Here in his 2 quarterbacks as Superflex.
No, I wasn't surprised. Honestly,
and it's okay to poke on Sean. He's used to it.
if I had the first pick, I probably would have been leaning the same way. And it's just because Marvin Harrison is that dynamic of a playmaker, is that refined of a route runner. I mean, if I told you that you could get a Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb type of player, with a draft pick, are you going to add him to your roster? Of course. So it's not like, even though Caleb Williams is a really impressive quarterback, I feel a lot more comfortable that Marvin Harrison is going to work out in the NFL. And I think you're just adding a star player to your dynasty team.
Okay, interesting. Okay, I have a poll question. We'll quickly go through our folks here. This is a little bit more NFL draft tied to rookies as well, though. You're the Chicago Bears. You're the GM. You're on the clock. Have you traded away Justin Fields to take Caleb Williams? Are you keeping Justin Fields and doing something different? We will start with Steve H on that one.
I'm like JJ. I like value. I like that Costco card. I like coupons. So I would trade Fields, and I'd get multiple draft picks back, and I would build the 1995 Dallas Cowboy dynasty offense. Get a big offensive line, draft my quarterback, and that's how I'm going to win this is how I'm going to win that division.
Okay, so we have one for trading Fields. JJ.
Man, drafting QBs at 1 is a crapshoot at best, but I'm sticking with Fields. I'm loading up on all the other talent that I can. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm taking a shot.
Okay, we're at 1-1. Sean.
Man, I don't fully trust Fields, so I do think I would trade him away to avoid that controversy if I did take Caleb Williams also. I don't want them both on the team. I do not want both of them. So I do think Williams is the guy here. I do think he's a better quarterback than Fields. Fields just can't do it in the passing game consistently. We've seen him miss wide open guys time and time again. And I'm not talking about throwing the ball to him. I'm talking about actually seeing them on the field wide open. So that's a problem when your job is to find those guys and throw them the ball. So trade Fields, build around Williams.
Okay, 2 trade Fields so far and 1 draft Williams. Joe.
I'm trading Justin Fields. You're going to get more for pick 101 than you are for Justin Fields, but they're 3 years in. We don't know what Justin Fields is. And at this time next year, you're going to have to pay him. And you cannot justify giving him over $200 million right now. Even if I'm very high on these quarterbacks, but even if it's Jaden Daniels, I'm taking him over Justin Fields 100 out of 100 times with the context. Got to restart.
Steve G.
Well, I'm a Packers fan, so I voted.
Great unbiased answer.
Great take.
Yeah. Okay. So we have a little bit more of a lean of trading Fields, going with the rookie, Caleb Williams, getting some additional draft capital to build out the team further. Okay. That very interesting. All right, let's go ahead and start off with and go into round 2 then. And we are starting with team 12 with the first pick here. And so back to Steve H.
Yeah, I'm trying to give you guys like a newer player or take in here instead of using the same old guys we see. And this is a good pick because there's a player that should have been taken. Obviously, we're all kind of fading right now. And there's a couple that I would like to put here, but just want to give you a new take. I'm going to put Ladd McConkey here at my 2.1. He had 69% of his snaps as a wideout, 31% as a slot, so he can kind of play everywhere. I really think he's going to be a slot or a Z-type player next level. That's just me. Kind of interested to see where he goes in the NFL draft. He's one of the most sure-handed players, and he runs great routes. So I'll take Ladd McConkey here at my 2.1.
Ladd McConkey from the University of Georgia Bulldog, who Can play both inside and outside. In his combine, it'll be really interesting to see how he does on some of the speed drills. I think his lateral agility drills he'll do fantastic on based on his route running and all. So Ladd McConkey to start off round 2. And let's go to Joe with pick number 2 of the round.
Well, the guy I was debating on with Keon Coleman is still there, so I'm going to go with Jalen Polk, the other University of Washington receiver. I am higher on him than most. He's my wide receiver 4 in this class. I think he's a spectacular player, 6'2", 205-ish. Also inside-outside versatility. Not the most explosive player, but does have enough. Can make some deep misses. Some players miss. Is fast enough to get downfield. Has a lot of very good contested catch, body control sort of player. Really a whole package. Very much. He's very similar to Roma Dunes, I feel like, just a little less. It's a bit less.
Okay, and so Jalen Polk here. Washington was loaded similar to LSU in terms of having multiple wide receivers. They also had Jalen McMillan, who's also coming out in this draft, who we'll hear his name at some point in the NFL draft as well. But Polk kind of jumped over McMillan this year with his play and performance, to your point.
This class is crazy.
So
Jalen McMillan would be a top 8 receiver in most classes, and I don't know if he's in the top 20 of this one.
It's a great question. I mean, it's a great point because that's how talented and deep this class truly is. Okay, let's go to Steve G with pick number 3 here.
So I'm kind of between taking a tight end and taking a running back, but I think the player that I'm going to go with here is a 3-down back from Texas. Had over 1,000 yards last year. He's 6 feet tall, over 200 pounds, has a 3-down skill set. The only problem is that he tore his ACL at the end of the season, and so he's probably going to get back to his team around, I think they'll put him in August on a 9-month timeline. And he's probably, you're probably going to have to stash him on a taxi squad or have him on the bench for this year. I mean, you're not going to see the best out of him just that first year coming back from an ACL injury. But I think Jonathan Brooks is a player worth taking a chance on and waiting for. Out of all these running backs, I feel like he's got the most versatility, and he's the best fantasy asset.
So we go with Mr. Brooks, Jonathan Brooks from Texas here. And Joe, I believe you had done some research to confirm the nature of Brooks's injury, and was it multiple ligaments and a tendon or not? So what did you learn on that, Joe?
From a quick Twitter and Google search, it was just an ACL. So hopefully a little speedier recovery, but still it was later in the season.
Yeah. But hopefully they're talking as if he will be ready for training camp, if not started training camp at some point during it, which should position him to do well. And it was interesting. We saw different types of ACL injuries. We saw Breece Hall come back from an ACL injury and perform extremely well, as our Jet fan JJ Winter knows. But then at the same time, you saw Javonte Williams from Denver, who had multiple different injuries to his knee, and he didn't come back to the same, let's call it robustness that we saw with Breece Hall. So Brooks with just the ACL, maybe we can still have some good production here in year 1 as well. Okay, thank you, Steve G. Let's go to Joe now with the next pick.
Yeah, and to bounce off that more, I like what Steve G said. I do think still hold off a little bit on Brooks for this season, but he's my top running back as well. And hopefully he's back and good. And I am definitely stalling a bit because there's one quarterback sticking out there that I don't want to take, so I'm not going to. I'm not going to do it. He's a 5th round pick in my opinion, so I can't do it.
Give him to JJ.
I'm going to go with Jonathan Brooks' teammate, Adonai Mitchell, the wide receiver from Texas via Georgia. Big-time athlete, big-time player. I think 6'4", 200-ish, something like that. And lightning fast. He could run in the 4.3s. not crazy production, a lot of touchdown production, which you love to see, and on the biggest stages in the college football playoff. I think he played 3 college football playoff games in his career across 2 schools and had a touchdown in each. He's a big time player, and the talent, that's something you need to take a shot on at this point.
Okay, so we go Longhorns back to back. We start in their backfield and we go out wide, and there's still another wide receiver and a tight end from the Longhorns that we might hear their names called potentially before this draft is done. Okay, so let's go to our 5th pick of the round, and let's go over to JJ.
Well, it looks like we're going to make it 3 in a row. I'm going with the 6'4", 243-pound tight end. This is a tight end premium league, just for the listeners out there. And I'm going with Jatavian Sanders. Great hands, can take a hit and hold on to the ball. Good route runner, capable blocker. I think he has to work on that a little bit. But I don't care if he blocks. I want him catching passes. And that's what he does. Tight end premium. This is an easy pick for me.
Jatavian Sanders. So 3 Longhorns in a row, spread out across multiple positions, and he in terms of over 15 yards per catch for Sanders this past year. So his number of catches went down from 54 to 45 or 46, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. But his average per catch went from in the 11s to over 15. So definitely explosive, tight end premium, excellent pick here early in round 2. Okay, let's go with Sean with the next pick.
So JJ sniped me back for that earlier snipe I had on him, so that was a lot of fun. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So
Beanie Brothers
I know.
forever.
Yeah. We share the same mind. Nice. I'm gonna take the hit. Yeah. Sweet, ain't it? I'm gonna take the hit and draft a guy that we've all been avoiding just for the sake of this. Yay. Oregon quarterback. Bo Nix.
Bo Nix.
Stick
Our
cricket.
6th quarterback off the board here
Crickets.
through 18 picks.
This is another draft capital thing. If he goes,
Could hurt.
he could go top 15. It's possible. And if he does, he's going in the first. He's probably going to go pick 7 where you took Penix. Like right now, without draft capital, this makes sense for the fall, but
Well, with this team I got, Penix is, probably just as risky here just because of all the, the injuries and everything. So I could very easily swap these two and, I feel they are interchangeable.
or you might have just gotten 2 top 15 NFL picks.
I feel
Your
they're
guy got
both equally risky.
77% accuracy. I take that. It's a good shot, 2nd round.
Yeah. It's just not very sexy.
So Daniel Jeremiah, who on NFL.com does an outstanding job if you haven't checked him out. But he has Nix as a top 15 pick. And I was actually very surprised by that. He seems to be more on the outlier side at this point, but he has proven to have a very strong track record. So it'll be interesting to see. So Bo Nix here with the
Nix
6th pick of round 2.
Interviews.
Yeah, and rumor coming out of Senior Bowl was he was one of the best interviews that allegedly scouts have been sharing with various reporters that are there. Okay, Steve H., you are up, sir, with the next pick.
This part of the draft, you're looking for high-end upside. So, like the Bo Nix pick, you're looking at why are these guys falling? And I'm looking at my draft board. There's players that some people have 2.1, highly coveted, and they're falling. And I'm looking at my pick, just like Sean did with Nix. I'm looking at it, and I'm like, why is this guy falling? And I'll explain. He didn't do much his senior year, and he's not doing much at the senior drills. He's not. But let's go back and look 2 years ago. 2021, he had 36% of his team's receiving yards. He had 41% of his team's touchdowns. I say that again. I know that's not correlative, but 41% of your team's touchdowns in 2021. So whatever. I'm betting on the talent. It's the 2.7 pick. So I'm going on upside here. He's usually drafted before this. So give me Give me Xavier Worthy here. And again, he did all that as a freshman, so he has nothing but growth to come. So I'll take it.
Xavier Worthy, University of Texas. Wow, 4 of the last 5 picks from the University of Texas here. And Worthy, great speed, some return capabilities. Just the hands are one of the big questions with Xavier Worthy for sure.
So to counter the hands thing real quick, most of the drops issues he had, it was not released until a month ago, but he had a broken hand when he had most of his drop issues. And he played through it. It was not released, which there's probably some legal issues there. But yeah, he was playing through a broken hand for most of those issues.
That's a great tidbit, and that's one of the reasons you need to listen to IDP Guys / IDP Plus. Great tidbits based on the research that these gentlemen do. Excellent tidbit. Thank you for sharing that, Joe.
Hey, Ricky,
okay,
can
let's
they
go to,
still get the first month for $1?
They sure can. Thank you for bringing that up, JJ. That is a great call out. So with the promo code mock draft, you can get access to idpguys.org for $1 1 month. Terms can change soon. It is subject to change, but $1 for all the great stuff on idpguys.org/IDP plus. You get rankings, tons of tools, tremendous articles, access to our Discord, and this team of folks to help you. So great information out there. Thank you for the plug, JJ. Okay, let's now go to Steve G.
Okay, so with this pick, I think I'm going to take advantage of the Superflex format. So we have, what was that, 6 quarterbacks off the board at this point, a couple of tight ends, and the only running back that's been taken was Jonathan Brooks. And I think even though there's no true number 1 running back in this class, you're going to have a lot of guys that are intriguing as far as what they can bring to an NFL backfield. You have guys who have good hands, good runners. I mean, like 3-down skill sets. And I think that the guy that I'm going to take here is one of those guys who can, if he gets the draft capital, if we're, seeing him take in the 3rd round, this is somebody that can go into an NFL backfield and really claim a share of it his rookie season. I'm going to take Bucky Irving. He out of Oregon. And so he's not the biggest guy. He's, 5'10" around, but he's really quick. He has good balance, very good vision, and he's a tough runner. He's the type of guy that is not going to be fun for linebackers and secondary players to try to take down. And I just really like his game.
Okay, Bucky Irving from the University of Oregon here with the 8th pick of the 2nd round. And now it comes to me. And in previous mock drafts, we've had some discussion about this wide receiver. Yours truly even compared him to Clifford Franklin from the Replacements movie, or similarly Featherstone from Necessary Roughness, which is another movie that goes way back. So 2 really great football movies, great humor and all. But so he's got tremendous speed. He was pulling away constantly from wide receivers, but he was having trouble maybe holding on to the football a little bit. Now, in watching the Senior Bowl game, I saw a couple of things where there was a lot of holding that wasn't being called to free up his hand and all. And I think he can work on it. And I just love the speed and the talent. And once again, too, he had to miss part of the year because of some of these archaic NCAA rules. And I think we all know where I'm going from the University of North Carolina, wide receiver Tez Walker. Or Devontae, if we want to be more precise. Okay. And with that, we'll go to Joe with the next pick.
Yeah, Tez Walker. We talked about him last week, and all remains true. Infuriating player, but so much talent. Hopefully, and a lot of it could just be coming up from Kent State. So, bigger stage, give him some time, and he has that potential. And here I am between 2 players, with it being Superflex. It really depends. Do we want to go quarterback here or correct a sin from last week's show? With it being Superflex 2 quarterback, I'm going to go with the player who is a toss-up for my quarterback 5 overall with Michael Penix Jr., who I kind of want to put above him, to be honest, just pure talent. That is Senior Bowl MVP Spencer Rattler.
Spencer Rattler.
Yes. JJ.
JJ's super excited about it.
Had I known that'd be the reaction, I would have gone with the other player. But
trade.
Rattler it is, I guess. Yes, I'll trade you. Give me a 4th rounder, and we'll call it a day.
Fantastic pick.
Do you want to talk about him? Go for it.
You know, this is what I have to say. Spencer Rattler is getting a lot of buzz just because of what Ricky said earlier. Tons of starts. He has thrown tons of passes, many different teams. And I know he had personal issues, like he was an a-hole early in his career.
When he was 17, 18.
And he was. And he came in with all the hype, right? A TV crew followed him around for his senior year of high school, filming him. How can that not go to a kid's head? And where he's going to fall in the draft, he might land with a solid team that just needs a guy who can come in and throw the ball. I thought he looked great yesterday in his limited work. I think Spencer Rattler is going to sneak up in the actual NFL draft, get some capital, and going to be a worthy pick at the end of the 2nd round in a Superflex draft.
Yep. And a lot of the issues with him were just a lot of the freelancing, a lot of the bad decisions made, but he got hit so many times and sacked. I'm trying to pull that number up right now, but a lot of the issues
South
he
Carolina,
had, that O-line.
While you're pulling that up, I'll jump in here so you can look that up. The South Carolina O-line really struggled. He does throw a beautiful ball. He does have the arm talent for sure. The question is, in the right system, keeping him from freelancing, where he did make a lot of his mistakes, he could end up being a real surprise and steal. So anyway, so great.
He was sacked 70 times.
Great pick here. I have to admit, I was only.
Yeah, Joe, I've been picking him up a lot
75
when I
times in the
do
last
my
2 years.
fake
Wow.
PFF mock drafts for the Jets. I like when college quarterbacks have bad offensive lines because you get to see a little bit of what they are. When you have somebody like Zach Wilson, who was never touched at BYU, and of course you look good when you're not getting touched, you know, but that's never going to happen in the NFL, and it's not preparing you for the reality of what you're going to face, because you could be a Jet and get hit all the time as a quarterback.
JJ, they did an analysis on that. If you look at the top quarterbacks in the NFL, they come from like lower schools with bad offensive lines, receivers. You look at all these high pedigree guys, they don't have to make all those hurdles. So you're correct. I was kind of excited to see what you're going to do with that Spencer.
A lot of these
Rattler
quarterbacks had never faced adversity.
Yeah. We knew as rookie, if you go back to last year's rookie mocks, earlier this year, Spencer was a top guy, and I was curious why he fell off. So that's really good analysis by Joe and JJ.
I want to add there, he was, as a freshman at Oklahoma, was seen as like a potential 1st overall pick. I think that 1st rounder, I don't think that was ever. He doesn't have a big arm. He's very solid. He's a good athlete, not great. He's really more like the Baker Mayfield mold, which is a little on the nose with everything, but good arm, good athlete, not super overwhelming. Honestly, he was very comparable to Bo Nix, but I think a little more talented and way less gimmicky of an offense, and dealt with more. I don't want to say dealt with more. Nix had some times at Auburn, but
I can see a pick like that winning somebody's league. Like if you guys are right or even semi-right, I mean, boom, you're getting him in the end of the 2nd, early 3rd round. And a super flex, that's peanuts. So it's very good risk reduction. That's a good investment.
Thank you.
Is he a better Desmond Ridder?
Yes. And this is from the biggest Desmond Ridder fan out there. Yes.
All right, great. Thanks. Okay, 2 picks left. JJ, I know you just got sniped, but I'm sure you have a illustrious draft board that you're pulling from here with your next pick.
That wasn't my pick. I thought if I spoke enough about Spencer Rattler, I would just sort of like pull that away from Joseph.
Move him over a spot.
That didn't work. So, you know what? I know I took this gentleman last week. I am an old school NFL guy. I'm going to go with a giant of a running back, 6'2", 238, a 2-pound banger between the tackles. I think he actually might do a little bit more than just that. But depending on where he falls in the draft and where he lands, like I can definitely see him being a goal line back and, you know, eating up a lot of carries on a team. So I'm going to go with Braylon Allen from Wisconsin. Nice milk-fed, middle-of-the-country school. Yeah, let's go with Braylon Allen if I can't get Spencer Rattler.
Braylon Allen, the Wisconsin Badger. And definitely has some meat on those bones for sure. Big, strong young man, and a young man indeed.
Just turned 20.
Just turned 20, exactly right. And with the last pick of round 2 and the last pick of this mock draft is Caramel Macchiato Sean.
Yeah, so I was really hoping Allen was going to fall one more spot. So again, JJ got me. I do like that pick. Yeah, do think he's going to be a very violent, aggressive, angry runs kind of guy. So I'm going to pivot to the next running back I would take, and that is, I believe he's 6'1", 220, 225, something like that. Trey Benson. He does have some injury concerns, possibly, just with his knee and whatnot. I do think he's probably a little more well-rounded than Allen. And he does kind of seek the contact as well. But I think he seeks it a little too much, where he should be trying to elude a defender instead of just, put his head down and trying to run through him. So, but I think he'll be a solid pick regardless.
Trey Benson, the Florida State Seminole, rounds out our mock draft in one of the only 4 running backs out of 24 picks. So for our listening audience, let me recap the second round real quick, then we'll get into a few questions here. First, 4 picks were Ladd McConkey, Jalen Polk, Jonathan Brooks, Adonai Mitchell. Next 4, Jatavian Sanders, Bo Nix, Xavier Worthy, and Bucky Irving. And wrapping it up, Tez Walker, Spencer Rattler, Braylon Allen, and Trey Benson. All right, so let's start off on the quarterback side of things. I know we've had some quarterback discussion, but Joe, I'm going to start with you. Okay. Out of Penix, McCarthy, Nix, and Rattler, what is your order of those 4?
Oh boy, here we go. So Penix, McCarthy, Nix, Rattler. I am McCarthy, Rattler, Penix, Nix. I am not a huge believer in Penix or Nix.
Very interesting.
Penix much more so.
Okay. So, all right, very interesting. Okay, Steve, who is also down at the Senior Bowl. Same question for you, sir. What's your order?
I might have a little bit of a different order here. I'm going to go.
Most people will. I'm the outlier here.
That's okay.
I'll take Michael Penix and then Spencer Rattler, Bo Nix, JJ McCarthy. With McCarthy, just haven't seen enough game time from him. And I think Spencer Rattler could be really interesting if he gets drafted to like an Atlanta or something. I mean, he could probably jump 3 quarterbacks in this draft and be sitting there at number 4 if he gets the right landing spot and the right weapons and the right offense.
Very, very interesting. Okay, we'll ask the same question and one more. Steve H., what's your take based on the research you've been doing?
Penix, McCarthy, Rattler, and Nix is the way I have it.
Wow, a lot of non-Bo Nix fans. What is it in particular? We'll go back to Steve G. what is it about Bo Nix that you're not sold on?
The gimmicky offense at Oregon, and just I think it's seared in my brain his time at Auburn. He obviously got a lot of bad habits there, a lot of hero ball. And just when I saw him at the Senior Bowl, the first thing I actually saw when I walked into the second practice, he dropped a snap and then threw a ball behind a receiver and then overthrew a receiver. That was my introduction to the Senior Bowl, was Bo Nix just all over the place. So he's just not my cup of coffee.
He also, to the sidelines, he looks constantly, if you watch tape and film, he's not a great audibler. You know what I mean? And in the NFL, they're going to eat him up. It's probably going to be like growing pains with him, but that's a constant that scouts are dinging him on too.
Yeah. When the Heisman Trophy, before the voting, obviously different schools were trying to do their own spin on why their players should, win the Heisman Trophy and so forth. And one of the things, while Bo Nix did have a high completion percentage, and he does have some very nice balls that he's shown, throwing some deep balls and so forth, so that you could find some highlights of those. But at the same time, a huge percentage of his throws were right at or behind the line of scrimmage. Joe, is that where you were about to go from the looks of things?
Yes. So I just did a PFF search. There are 95 quarterbacks with at least 312 dropbacks. That's 50% of the highest dropbacks. Guess of those 95 where Bo Nix ranks in ADOT, average depth of target. 93rd. 6.8. Last year, there were 95 quarterbacks, and he was in the last 5 of that same sample size. Bucky Irving, who was taken earlier, had a negative ADOT.
So if you put all that together, he doesn't really work well deep. He doesn't know how to read the defense well. He's looking to the sidelines. He's probably going to have the biggest struggle out of all these guys. So I put J.J. McCarthy and Rattler ahead of him as well.
I do think we are probably giving him a little too much hate for the Auburn time. He's grown so much since then. He's not that same quarterback.
Right.
But his tools, they're average at best. I have a huge thing. This is why, if any of you know my stuff, I'm way down on like a Joe Burrow than compared to most people. And it's one of those things that, like, if your best attribute is your mentals and that's not even that high and you're a winner, I think that's a huge negative. If like your tools and things you do on the field aren't things that you're great at, kind of says something, I think. And Burrow's obviously a lot more than that, but that was one of my things with him early in his career and at LSU, which I was wrong on to a degree. But yeah, he still could be a first round pick, and I do get it. He is a cerebral leader, but
remember when Lamar Jackson came out? The Ravens came back in early in first round, and everyone was like crapping on that. But look what he's become. So who knows? But
granted, Lamar he could read a defense really well. Lamar is playing a
profile. That's my argument with this guy. But I mean, we don't know what these kids. It's kind of hard to knock a 20, 24-year-old kid. We don't know what they're going to do next level, especially when they get coached up. But just if you're giving me a board and I'm separating apples and oranges,
If he goes to a Shanahan scheme, he could be another Brock Purdy.
There you go.
But if he goes to a more real offense, something that without elite talent, it could get really rough for him. Just like without knowing that landing spots, I think a guy like him and Penix, they're really going to struggle unless they have an elite infrastructure. Whereas the other guys, I don't think they need as much and are more likely to succeed without that.
Yeah, and I'm just tap dancing here, but like look at Brock Purdy. I mean, do the 49ers really ask him to do that much? If he has a structure of everything around him, with that sweet accuracy ball he throws, JJ and Sean know about deep balls. So, when you're throwing those deep balls down the field and receivers are elite and they're catching them, those deep balls actually do pan out, do they not?
Well, the deeper the balls, I'll just stop there. The more time you have to run underneath them.
That's true. So it's all about the deep ball and the accuracy. If you got a quarterback that could establish deep ball, deep throwing, and have a great coach that coach him up, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know what can happen. So
no one knows.
Yep, exactly. So now let's shift gears a little bit. So let's go to the middle of the first round, And we're going to go to JJ and Sean for this one. So Malik Neighbors, Bowers, Penix, and Odunze. Is that the JJ? If you had those 4 picks in a row, is that the same order that you would go with those picks, or would you do anything different?
Which 4 again? Sorry.
So between picks 5 and 8 here. So Neighbors, Bowers, Penix, and Odunze.
No, I wouldn't take Penix at all. Outside of that, I mean, yeah, that's about right. I mean, Rome and Malik, dealer's choice there. They can go back and forth. But yeah, I would actually probably take them 5, 6, 7. And then Penix, I wouldn't take Penix until much later, but that's just personal.
What if Penix gets first round pedigree?
Well, then it's a whole different ball game. But I'm still a little bit beyond him anyway. I'd probably let somebody else take that.
That makes sense.
It's hard for me to see Penix, even if a team feels like he has first round talent, with 2 shoulder injuries, 2 knee injuries, 4 season-ending injuries, being a little bit older on top of that. That's pretty risky to put into a 5-year contract potentially. So
no, all those injuries. I mean, I am not left with any Penix envy on that one.
But you know what though? Just to play devil's advocate, Ricky, if you look at the draft board, the top 7, it goes in that order. The top 4 can go either way around. Once we start getting 8, 9, 10, everyone has gold at this point. Why don't I have gold? So you start trying to squint your eyes a little bit. I would probably do it. I would still do it, and I'd take him there, even though we know all these injuries, because you're trying to compete with your neighbors. So I mean, who else would you put as your QB 4, 5? That's when you start taking chances. That's why I love Superflex personally, because you got to take those chances, and those wide receivers go down. You get a lot of quality there.
Yep. So Sean, even in a tight end premium, would you have done Neighbors before Bowers, or would you have done Bowers before Neighbors in a tight end premium?
No, I think that's actually right. Neighbors, we said it earlier, if not for Marvin Harrison Jr. being in here, he's the top wide receiver. And even with tight end premium, there's not a whole lot of tight end spots left in the NFL right now. It's such a deep pool of players. So it may be hard for him to find a good team that he could actually break out on. So there's a little concern for me there. But no, I think you definitely take Neighbors before Bowers, even in tight end premium.
Interesting.
Any disagreement on that?
I disagree on that.
Okay,
I'm
Joe,
not,
make your counter.
Not a massive amount. I think it's one of those that, if it wasn't tight end premium, no. This is one. It's like Adune's Neighbors. Yeah, they're a coin flip to me as well. Bowers, I think he's coming in as my dynasty tight end 1. I'm going to say it right now, assuming he doesn't go to Atlanta.
So that's probably after being burned by that.
Yeah. Today, yeah, I totally understand that concern. Bowers he's the best tight end prospect we've seen since Mike Ditka. He's a better prospect than Pitts was. He's as good of a receiver, and he can block.
That's good analysis if you're quoting Mike Ditka there. Wow.
Yeah, he's in the tight end premium it's a game of haves and have-nots. That's something like the dynasty nerds have talked about recently. And it's like, yeah, that's what it is. If you have a Sam Laporta, if you've had Travis Kelce the last decade, that's a huge trump card to have.
Yep.
And if you can get that here, yes, Neighbors, Adunes, I love them, but you can get Jalen Polk, who can be 80% of that in a round. You can't, Jatavian Sanders, as good as he could be, he's not going to be Brock Bowers, most likely. And then who's tight end 3 in this class?
Right. I'm glad you said that, because 3 to 5, there are so many dark horses. I have guys that you probably don't have, and vice versa. It's so neat though this year. I would have liked to do another extra round and see how many tight ends would come in there.
And but with all that, not to say Neighbors and Odunes, they're incredible. They would be a top 5 pick in almost every other draft. But it's like going with either of them over
Steve,
Bowers. I totally get it.
And Steve, to your point, as we move forward during the offseason, we will be doing longer rookie mock drafts. I was Wow, I'm having a hard time saying that all of a sudden. So we will do some longer ones. So we will have the opportunity to see that here as we move forward. And Joe, the only caveat I'd make to your point was that Arthur Smith is now with the Steelers. So I'm looking to trade some of the shares of my dynasty Steelers that are any good. That's sort of something I'm going
Arthur
over
Smith
there
is a good
now.
offensive coordinator.
Yeah,
Arthur Smith's a good offensive
he's a coordinator, not a head coach.
He's a
That's
good
what he needs to
offensive
be.
coordinator for wide receiver 3s and RB10. No, I'm just teasing. When he was at Tennessee, he did all that. I'm just teasing. Everybody's bagging on him now.
Him going to Pittsburgh, it's so funny. It just fits.
Exactly. All right. So with that, look, we're going to call it a wrap here. I want to thank my esteemed colleagues who joined me today and did a fantastic job. Great analysis and some great humor as well. Thank you to our audience for joining and participating with us in this week's Mock Draft Monday. We'll be doing many more of these. You've heard several already, and there's many more to come. Redraft, Dynasty, Rookie, Offense, IDP, Offense and IDP. So a lot more to come here. And as JJ called out earlier, in reminder time, with the code word mock draft, go to idpguys.org. You can get 1 month for $1 to check out all our rankings, articles, tools, Discord, you name it. Fantastic stuff out there. And where these gentlemen are, you can often find them as well in their great analysis. With that, wishing you all great health and happiness. Be nice to one another. And we'll see you next time for our next Mock Draft Monday. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Thank you for watching this IDP Guys video. If you like this content and you want more fantasy football content, click here. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos to help you master your IDP league, click here to subscribe.